Good evening, everyone. I'm Anubhav from Hit Bullseye, and we will be starting with the session very soon. Uh, Ishan has already joined this webinar, so I'm just waiting for some more students to join. We'll wait for the next 3 to 4 minutes, and then we will begin. So, students, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Anubhav from Hit Bullseye, and today we have with us Ishan, who has done exceedingly well with the Narsi Monji admission test exam. We have Ishan is currently from SDA Bocconi Asia Center, Mumbai. He has completed his graduation with a first class pass with a distinction from MIT Pune with a dual specialization in marketing and entrepreneurship. He has prepared for NMAT while simultaneously attending the final year of the college. He was able to get a tremendous score of 248, which helped him secure his admission to the SDA Bocconi Asia Center. Ishan is also trained in black belt in Taekwondo from South Korea and has secured several accolades for India at multiple international Taekwondo events in South Korea. He has internship experience ranging in roles across content writing, social media marketing, and business development, which has helped him in understanding the importance of lead generation and sales funnel. Recently, he has also worked with the SDA Bocconi Asia Center's 180 Degrees Consulting. He conducted market research to help them devise strategies for the expansion of clients' NGO to other metropolitan cities. He is also an avid follower of football and likes to stay updated with the recent happening in the hip hop community. Today, he is going to be talking about his road to acing the NMAT exam and would give you insights and tips which has helped him improve his score. So over to you, Ishan. Give everyone a brief introduction about yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. That was a great introduction. All right. Hi, everyone.
Unable to hear you, Ishan. If you can unmute yourself.
One sec. Am I audible now?
Oh, yes, sir.
Awesome. Yeah. So, hi, everyone. The first thing I have to say is let's just keep this an interactive session. I'm also a fresher. I'm also a student. I would like if you guys ask me questions. I would like if you guys sort of be a little free with me. It's totally fine. I understand everyone has that sort of entrance exam pressure going on right now. And I was also there. So let's just keep this easy. Let's just keep it sort of like a flowing conversation. And I think we should be good.
That is superb. So, Ishan, first of all, the very first question to you, this it was very uncertain times during the COVID pandemic. So how was your whole experience of giving an exam when there was so much of uncertainty all around you?
So the first and foremost, I'd like to say, so when I was preparing for NMAT, there was no certainty at all. The first 2-3 months, we didn't know about the pattern of the paper, the adaptive test which started happening from our year. It wasn't there. It was a fixed paper pattern. We didn't know whether it was going to be home proctored, what the situation was. But all in all, it was a great experience. So like NMAT is governed by the same body that takes GMAT, which is GMAT. And it's pretty free flowing. You don't have to worry about everything. You get the result right after the exam. And given that, the experience was pretty good. The uncertainty factor was there, but I wasn't agitated a lot because NMAT was pretty active with that. You can keep connecting with them and they are very active on their platforms as well. So whatever doubts you have, anything that you have, there's a lot of information out there. And even if you want to connect with them, they are there. You can reach out to them at any given point of time. So it was pretty cool, I'd say. I'm sorry. I think you're on mute.
Okay. So Ishan, you've talked about, the whole uncertainty around, the COVID and still you aced the exam. So what was your whole preparation strategy while you were preparing for the NMAT exam?
Initially, I think this is what everyone does. I was walking in blind with nothing, no plan in my head. But the first thing I knew I had to do was complete my quant syllabus completely, because that's the first thing everyone looks for. But looking back now, I'd rather suggest everyone who's starting out, please focus on your logical reasoning and quants and give it equal weightage, because NMAT is an exam which is completely strategy based. It doesn't test your thinking ability as much as it sees how well you strategize, because it is speed based. So I focused on quants initially, and what I did was I started coaching classes. So what they do is they start from bottom up. They start with your number system and they go all through that to your model map. And while that was going on, I didn't have the patience to wait, because NMAT usually used to start in October, but for us, it started in November. So in my head, when I started preparing for NMAT, I had to finish off the entire quant syllabus in a month. So while my classes started from number system, I started from model math. I tried to at some point meet somewhere in between. So I was doing 2 chapters at a time so that I could finish up quants and focus on logical reasoning. Verbal is something I was always quite strong with. Being an ICSE student, you have that sort of pat down. But I'd say, just rather than starting to read books at this point of time, I would rather suggest you to just start giving mocks and start solving a lot of verbal sectional mocks. I have given almost, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I've given almost close to 50 to 60 sectional mocks and around 70 full length mocks. So that's all that I was doing. But more to that, we'll get to that later.
That, to all the students who are currently listening to us, kindly keep this thing, whenever you are preparing for the NMAT exam, like Ishan. So yes. So to all the students. So yes, sorry for the technical slag. So for all the students who are currently preparing for the NMAT exam, please bear this thing in mind, that giving more and more mock tests is the key to getting better results. Because when you give more and more mocks, you get to see your results, and it is only after analyzing those results that you come closer to the success. So giving the mock tests, as Ishan just told us, please bear this thing in mind whenever you are preparing for that. So Ishan, most of the students, they feel that since they are not from the mathematics background, and they have a problem with quant, because they feel that they probably, some of them, they didn't study about mathematics in 11th and 12th, or even in their graduation. So what was the difficulty level that you encountered while you were attempting the quant questions?
So I'd say the difficulty is right. I'd say just below CAT, because it's a speed-based exam. Not only are they testing how you think, but how well you strategize. So I wouldn't say it's something that if you think you're worried about the CAT level of questions, it's not that difficult. But it gets pretty time-consuming sometimes, because it's more of a time crunch. So you have to figure out different ways to sort of get to the answer, and it's just your approach. If you have the approach pat down, the question types sort of get more and more similar to you. It starts like more of an intuitive thing, and yeah, it should be pretty good, because even I am from a management background, and I left. It would be almost 3 years since I had last practiced math. So I'd say you don't have to worry about it, because to be very honest and to be perfectly candid, not a big fan of quants either. But once you get into the rhythm of it, it comes to you intuitively, and also you start figuring it out. So you need not worry about it right now. If you think you're weak at math, don't hold yourself back. Don't decide now whether you're weak at math or not until you actually finish it off, because this is completely different. This is just testing how you think and how you reach, how you approach a problem. So rather just think of it like solving a riddle, if nothing, and you should be sorted. That's all I'd say, because even I wasn't a big fan of math to start off with.
Okay. So, Ishan, Ishan, when I was interacting with students, and I was just telling them that, Ishan, he's done exceedingly well with NMAT, and, currently he's studying in one of the premium colleges in India. So the very first question everyone asked me, and I want you to answer me. The question was, how many hours did you study? How many hours did you take to prepare for the NMAT exam every day?
Funnily enough, and this is not like similar for everyone, but I don't think I studied for more than 4.5 hours every day. And that's also well spaced out. So I'm just saying 4 hours like as a number, but that was well spaced out because NMAT is an exam where you don't have to necessarily stress a lot. It's not that you give it 12 hours and you'll be fine at the end. It's more of like you'll burn yourself out if you give more time because your brain sort of stops working if you keep pushing it. This is comparatively uh, I'd say doable because I know I did it with my final year. I was pursuing my final year and preparing for NMAT. So I know it is completely doable even if you're working, even if you're a fresher, even if you have taken a year off. I'd rather say focus on your other skills as well. Study for NMAT. Give your time to also build your CV and sort of like prepare for soft skills, do everything. But NMAT is something you need not worry about. It's not something you have to give 12 hours tediously, just keep going at it. It's I'd say it's more chill. Calm down and you should be sorted. 4.5 hours, well spaced out, eat right, sleep right, you should be fine.
So while I was giving your introduction to all the students, and you have, apart from the academics, you have a CV full of accolades. Be it ranging from taekwondo to all the extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So while you were speaking about maintaining that your daily routine. So how important do you feel is the importance of having such kind of extracurriculars in your CV?
Oh, I'd say it is almost like it weighs a lot in your CV because just having academics is one thing. It shows how well you have been in the past, but extracurriculars is almost like a hint which says that this is what you're going to keep doing in the future as well. You don't want to box yourself to just one marks like or score or something like that. You want to keep trying out new things, and it also shows your ability to sort of like learn new things, your susceptibility to learning more new concepts and stuff like that. So I know that when I had taken a year off, not only was I preparing for the NMAT and giving my final year together, I was also doing a couple of internships. I did a few certifications on the way because if you think, because that one last year where you're preparing, you feel like even if you take an hour off, you feel like you're missing out on the time you could have given to like, study something. But I'd say that will just burn you out. Rather do something which builds your skills. And it would go a very long way if it's more about holistic development than just like a score that you've gotten in the past and which is there on your CV. Because CVs, as we know, also keep updating time over time. So it's extremely important to focus on extracurriculars as well and all sorts of extracurriculars. I'm sorry, Anubhav, am I audible?
So great. So Ishan, the next thing, like when you were telling about mocks, and I was also stressing about giving more and more practice in mocks. So please tell the students how important is apart from giving the mocks, analyzing it so that the students, they can find where they are they're finding the mistakes. So give your whole experience of giving the mocks, preparing for sectional, and how did you prepare for such kind of mocks?
Also, before I answer that question, can I just do a quick activity? I'd like to see,
Yeah.
can anyone who plays video games a lot, any sort of video games, can everyone just raise their hand? Anyone who plays any sorts of video games? Okay, we have one. I guess I'm sure it's more than one. Awesome. Okay, so the reason I'm asking that question is because the NMAT mocks are something which is very adaptive, and after a point it becomes so intuitive for you that you start looking at it like a video game in a way, because as many mocks as you keep giving, that's how you sort of understand the pattern of the exam, and after a point also the pattern of the questions that come at each level. So as we know that NMAT has like a few levels of questions. You start level 3 or something like that, level of difficulty, and it goes higher and higher as you answer correctly, and it goes lower if you go wrong. So it becomes sort of like a game. And trust me when I say this, I have given a mock the day I decided I want to give NMAT, and I'd say this, my score was 86, guys. I laugh at it right now, but the thing is, your score doesn't matter because that day I realized what the exam was going to be like, and that is what mattered to me that day. The day I realized what the exam was going to be like, that's when I knew what I need to focus on more. Analyzing your mocks is the most important thing you can do. After you give your mock, let's say if you're given a full length mock of 2 hours, I'd say take a good 20 minutes, if nothing, and focus on the, let's say if you're weak in quants, focus on the areas where you feel like, okay, this could have been better. Because there are many sections where you feel like, okay, even though I know this, you still goof up there. So these are the things, and analyzing the mock is one of the most important things. But first and foremost, start giving mocks, at least 3 full length mocks every week. Space it out however you want. The days you don't feel like studying, give a mock. The more and more mocks you start giving, it's still practice. It's still practicing the same thing. So mocks, that's just the way to go. That's just the way to crack it. And trust me, it will help you go a very long way if you want to practice for NMAT, because the adaptive test pattern is something that is very new. If you haven't done that before, if you haven't given exams like GMAT. So that doesn't come naturally. As much as you decide, for example, if I'm like, okay, I want to do modern maths today and I'm done with modern maths and I give a mock, it's still possible that I would not get the scores I was expecting or the results I was expecting from modern math section because I have not prepared it properly, or because I didn't know the type of questions that come in the mock. So like the mock will help you realize the sort of questions also that come in from like a particular chapter, or let's say from your verbal or something like that. So it just gives you a lot of perspective and it goes a long way. Trust me, it goes a long way when I say this, because mocks is the only thing that has helped me crack, let's say, quants, if nothing else. So yeah, that's just it.
Ishan, like, did it ever happen, like, NMAT is probably amongst those few exams, that we have that allows you to take one more, try apart from, if you
Mm-hmm.
wish to improve your score. So did it ever occur to you that, if suppose I'm not going to get a good, marks in this try, okay, I'll have a next try to go for, or were you like, this is the only try, I'm going to, go for it? So how were you, I mean, and decided for that?
I'd say if you have the 3 tries, why not go for it?
Okay.
Go for all of them. It doesn't matter what the score is. At least you have 3 chances. That's all that matters. When you give, let's say, CAT, you have 1 attempt. NMAT gives you the flexibility to choose your time, choose your location. You can give it at home. I have given it at 2 in the morning because that's the time I felt comfortable. It was the calmest outside. It gives you all sorts of flexibility. So I'd say go for all the 3 chances. I went for all 3. And the third one, I didn't even have to give. I just gave for the sake of it. But if you can, go for all of them, because there's always like the chance to improve your previous score. And if nothing, you get like more and more perspective as you go forward, because it's a good, let's say, window of like a few months when you can give those 3 attempts. And also keep talking to a lot of people who have given those exams. They can also give you a lot of perspective. So yeah, give all 3 attempts. And what's the worst thing that could happen? You're getting 2 extra chances after you get your first score. So I'd say go for it.
Excellent, excellent. So, Ishan, moving ahead, I mean, when you would have, you were preparing, and you decided that this is the day that you're going to take the exam. So, what was your preparation strategy in, say, last, last 1 month to go, or like last 30 days? So, what was your strategy in the very fag end of just giving the exam?
I'd say the last month of the exam is one where you shouldn't be worried about a topic that you haven't done, because you should be ready for the battle. You should be ready. So the best you can do is just deep dive into mocks and keep revising the formulas, because that's all that's going to help. The last month is not something where you introduce new concepts, because you have done so much for so long. Addition of new concepts that may be alien to you, even if it comes naturally to you, that's totally fine, because that mocks will take care of it. But if it's something that, let's say, you don't understand, because that happens, you tend to burn out towards the end of it. You don't want to do that, because if you don't understand it, you start panicking. You start getting nervous. And that's the worst thing, if anything. It's fine. Don't be prepared for one topic, whatever. That's fine. But The moment you start panicking is when you start losing it. That's the only thing you do. The last month is only revising the formulas, going through the types of questions. Hear me out, the different types of questions that keep coming. And that you start realizing as you give more. And yeah, that's all you need to do. If that's the last month, you should go ham. Uh, Sleep right, eat right, but just focus on the score that you want. So I had this benchmark in my head where once people started giving exams, I had like a good 10 days before I had my this thing. And I remember before adaptive exam started, the best score was get more than 210. And I was like, okay, so if 210 is the benchmark, I need to get a 220. That's the score I'm looking at. So I need to get at least a at least a 212 on my mock. This is how you calculate your score. And once I started getting to talk to people, I realized, okay, 230 is a good score. 220 is a good score. Keep raising the bar and you will get it right. So the last month, just don't worry and keep going ham at it and you should be fine.
So the very same thing, like that Ishan said, that in the very last in those last days when you are just going to go ahead and give the exam, instead of looking forward at that one topic which you are not probably good at, will ruin your whole strategy. So that was that one thing I really liked about you. And the second thing, like, to all the students who are currently listening to me, please, this is that one thing that Ishan said, and I found that to be a really motivating thing. Like he said that at that time, everyone used to say that 210 is the, benchmark. And I used to think about 220 and 230. So always aim for one step higher. Don't settle for that minimum thing. Keep, if I'll have 210, I'll probably in, or I'm gonna make it. So superb strategy, Ishan. So moving ahead, there were some students who, when they contacted me, so they had this one doubt regarding the verbal part, the English thing. Ishan, you are from the ICSE background. So, and obviously your English is good. So there are many students who felt that, they get overconfident in English, feeling that, English is like our first or second language. So we are very good with English, especially when they are, when they are doing the reading comprehension part. In the sense that, they have a passage, and when they read all those four options, they feel that, option A is also correct, B is also correct, probably D. So, give some tips to, to all the students to, how to tackle that verbal passages in that special case.
So the thing is, the important thing with like comprehension and passages is there is a lot of redundant information, and you need to understand how to filter out in that. Let's say, so I don't remember the exact time I used to take, but I had calculated how much time I want to finish a reading comprehension within, because as it used to happen, if you are lucky, in the verbal section, you used to get 2 reading comprehensions. If you are unlucky, you used to get 3. And that was totally based on your luck. So you need to space it out accordingly. So I was assuming the worst, I'll get 3 comprehensions, which means I have to allot this time to the comprehension. So let's say if I'm not entirely sure like what the time was, but let's say if I want to finish the comprehension in 2 minutes, I need to literally skim the entire, let's say 3 or 4 paragraphs that come in those 2 minutes. But the thing is, during that given point of time, you also need to filter out the redundant information. You're going through each and every single line. You need to remember all the important stuff. You need to filter out all the stuff that is redundant. And then you look at the questions, because once you pay attention, you really pay attention to the important stuff, you will understand the niche and the nuances of each and every question, because that happens in NMAT. NMAT is run by GMAT, and GMAT is a body which takes GMAT, which is just like another level of English difficulty. So I'd rather say once you focus on the important stuff, you will understand the nuances and you will answer correctly, because NMAT likes to confuse you in its option, and verbals definitely likes to confuse you in its option. So focus on that. Don't read each and every single line. Focus on the important stuff, move out the redundant stuff, and you should be perfectly fine. But there's just one thing. Don't get overconfident in English. Even if you think you know English, trust me, there's a difference between being able to speak English and being able to read English in that given point of time. So that's the one thing you need to practice, because even though if I'm able to talk very well, when it comes to reading that in given point of time, you start freaking out. and you lose your cool. That's the worst thing that could happen. So focus on that. And trust me, if you do that, it's fine to be a little confident. Just don't be overconfident because NMAT takes that out of you. Remember that.
Okay, so Ishan, what kind of when you were done with the exam and you went for the personal interview. So what kind of questions did you face there? I mean the difficulty level, and were they specifically talking to you only about the academics or your extracurriculars or something personal? What were the questions that you encountered?
Actually, it was more of a holistic this thing because they asked me about every single thing based on my life projects, my profile, any certifications I had done. There was also current affairs. So I'd rather say if you are also preparing for this thing, I remember when I started preparing for NMAT 1 month into it, I was also looking at mock interviews on YouTube. I was looking at a lot of mock interviews. So I was able to answer those questions without a lot of difficulty. So I'd say if you want to like start preparing for NMAT and you know you want to get into a particular college, I'd rather say that while you're preparing for NMAT, also start preparing for the questions that might sort of come up. I was keeping in touch with the current affairs. There's a lot of things that you can do to keep in touch with the current affairs. There's a lot of apps, email reminders, and stuff like that. Like I've mentioned before, please keep building your profile, your skills, and if you think you lack somewhere in soft skills, start conducting a lot of mock interviews with your friends, your family, because the moment you start getting comfortable in that scenario, that situation, you will not hesitate to answer or not like put forth your best self in front of them. So that's what you need to do. You need to start practicing for the mock interviews from now. Like right now is the best time to start it so that you don't freak out at the end. And yeah, keep in touch with current affairs. Keep building your profile. Keep going at it. And yeah, if you know that, I think you should be perfectly fine. I think it should be a beast for you.
So, Ishan, most of the time the students, they feel that, just to make their, profile uh, a bit impressive, they add up, some stuff probably that they haven't done.
Mhm.
They might add some kind of thing. I mean, do you feel that, such kind of, liberty should be taken by the students, or that one thing that could be avoided?
See, the thing is, it's something if you are lying anywhere on your CV, these are the people who have taken 200 students interviews every year for the past, let's say, countless number of years. So if you think you're lying, trust me, you will be caught. There is no way you can lie on your CV because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of technicalities which you might not be aware of if you're taking that liberty, and they are the ones who will sort of catch hold of it and make sure that that's something that they talk about. So every single point on your CV is something you need to be completely aware of. They don't ask for certifications because anyone can take a certification. They ask for the knowledge, the stuff you've learned in that life project, that internship and whatnot. So I'd rather suggest you to not do it because MBA is somewhere where there are people of all sorts of backgrounds. There are people who've worked for a lot of years and who have actually impressive backgrounds. So being a fresher myself, I try to put in those hours, even though it gets difficult, put in those hours because you want to stand head to head with those people who have a lot more experience than you, and just don't lie. I think you should be fine.
So, Ishan, when you are preparing for an exam that is, I would say not difficult. I mean, not easy. It is, at some level, it is a tough exam, and a very, it gives you an entry into some of the best colleges in the country. You, I mean, how much you avoid, you tend to have some stress during, preparation time, and when you are giving the mock test, your friends, their parents, everyone around you saying, "Acha, kitna pahunch gaya? How much have you done?" So how did you keep yourself motivated during this whole period?
Personally, what I used to do was I used to keep looking at YouTube videos because, so for me personally, this was the pandemic here. And this was the initial phase where everything was shut down. You didn't even step out of your home. So I wouldn't say I didn't face the parental pressure per se because it came to a point where like people binge Netflix shows. I started binging online mock exams on YouTube where they were solving those mock exams. And once you start doing that, I think it starts motivating you. Like even there have been times where I just didn't feel like studying, so I used to just lie down on my sofa and just put something on YouTube. And I started realizing what I was putting on YouTube was also like those instructors teaching, let's say, your profit and loss or compound interest. They're just solving the questions, and I'm just sitting and looking at it while I'm eating. So these are the things. Like it's just so passive, yet it stays in there. So for you, it might change. Like for many people, it's also that they burn out a lot. They tend to burn out. So I'd say it's fine. Take some time off. Go meet your friends. Do whatever you want to do. I personally started working out a lot, which cleared a lot of space in my head and helped me calm down. So find that one thing that you can do, which can help you calm down, because you can't be constantly motivated. And in a situation like this, where you're preparing for an exam, where you don't know what the outcome might be, you will burn out easily. So while you're doing all of this, also find some time for yourself and do something that you like. That's just that one thing. And you should be totally fine, because there is no point in stressing over. It's still at the end of the day just an exam. So why waste your energy and why stress over something so much, which you have like 3 chances to give. So you will get better time after time. Just don't worry about it.
So, Ishan, the question, probably that I should have asked you in the, in the very beginning, but, I thought I should take it to the end. Were you satisfied with the score that you got, or were you expecting more? I mean, when you saw the score on the screen, was it like that, okay, satisfied, I was expecting this, or were you like, oh God, I could have, I could have done that, and, it could have been even better?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. The first time, so I remember this is in the first window. So the first 20 days, everyone was scoring like a 220 to 235, and they were always saying the safe score is 235. And when I scored a 246 on my first attempt. And I will not lie to you, I couldn't believe what just happened, because you get your score right after you give the exam. I gave mine at the center, the first one. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe what was happening, because these are the things that give you that feeling of achievement. So yeah, the first time I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised, if I may say. After that, when I scored a 248 on my second attempt, that's when the complacency sort of sets in of any student who wants to do better, where to the point I was like, could have been 250, but that's fine. But the thing is, once you reach that benchmark, you will never be satiated unless you keep like creating new benchmarks for yourself. So I'm very happy with my score. It's just that complacent, arrogant person when we're talking could have been 250. But like as long as you know what you're doing right, I think, and if you're happy with your score, it should be at least a 235. That's what I'd say, according to what like it was last year. But if it's a 235, trust me, you have 2 more retakes. You can get more than that, like your previous attempt. So don't worry about it right now.
So,
Yeah, that's all.
Ishan, Ishan, currently you are studying in a college, and uh, you would know this thing that there's a stress on the peer study thing, and your team members have to sit together, and they have to prepare for some project or some assignment in that sense. So when you were preparing for the NMAT exam, did you, I mean, study with some peers? I mean, you had your friends, they were also preparing, or were you that, that one, that guy, who used to sit in isolation, used to prepare well? I mean, were you a, the group kind of a person, or were you, did you study, all in isolation?
Uh, the thing is, I am a outright extrovert. If I have people around me, I'll start talking, I'll get distracted. So I thought that it was best for myself to stay alone. I used to always study because final year, so I was doing my lectures in the morning, and I was studying in the night. So even there was no one to talk to in the house, I used to just sit on the table. If I'm practicing quants and if there's something I've done and I'm revising, I'll just put on my music and I'll solve it. If it's verbal, I have the entire night, everything's calm, everything's quiet around me. I just focus on that. So I was more of a like I'd study in isolation because that would help me think and wouldn't distract me per se. But if it works for you, if you can sort of like exchange ideas, I'd say go for it. Like it differs. It's very subjective, but for me, it was isolation.
Okay. So, apart from the NMAT exam, what other exams had you, were you preparing for, or did you give?
Uh, Nothing. I had decided solely I am going to go for NMAT because the thing is, this is what, and many people can do it, but for me personally, my opinion is, if you sort of like focus on 10 different things, you end up losing on most of them. So rather just make one thing your like entire focus, because the thing is, like I said, I've given 70 more. That's because I was only focusing on NMAT. I knew that after a point, like that's the one thing that I want to do, because rather than if you focus, there are many people who also give CAT first and NMAT. What happens is, because of the differing formats of exams, uh, it's sort of like usually like students get confused. That's what I saw a lot happened with a few people that I spoke to, where you keep changing between the patterns, and CAT being a logical test and MAT being a strategic exam, you sort of tend to switch, and that doesn't naturally come in many people, and they sort of goof up, and very smart people, I must say. So even anyone who can get complacent and say, oh, no, I can give CAT and I can give NMAT, trust me, you need to practice a lot. And for me, I was like, NMAT is the only thing I need to focus on right now, because if I focus on something else, personally, I would get sort of, distracted. So yeah, that's the thing. I just went for NMAT.
So, Ishan, apart from the college, that the SD college, which other colleges were you aspiring for? I mean, which colleges had you thought that, going into that college would be a dream come true?
So the thing is, while I was also like researching for NMAT, I did a lot of research on the colleges that I would apply to, because it was sort of the point to get into a good college. And I only had two colleges in my mind. In my final year, I had sort of looked at these two names. So NMIMS Mumbai campus was one, and SDA Bocconi Asia Center was one. And for very similar reasons, but I applied to SDA Bocconi and I got in, and I was really happy with the decision, because these were the only, like not only like NMAT, which was the only thing I was giving. These were the only two colleges which I was willing to go to. If not, then I was also willing to give another year to it. And I luckily got into Bocconi, which was one of the best experiences of my life. So I'm really happy with that. So yeah, and not even the other campuses, just NMIMS flagship campus Mumbai. So these are the only two things that I was looking forward to get into.
Uh, Ishan, it feels really great to, come across youngsters like you who have, razor sharp focus to, to go in that one specific college, give that one specific exam rather than aiming for everything and unfortunately, I mean, fizzling out, probably out of everywhere. So, Ishan, before you started with the SDA college, and you had just given the exam, you had just become a graduate. So you must be thinking about some things like the college is going to be this way or that way. It is going to have such kind of things. So what was your preconceived notion about coming to the SDA, and after that you reached here, what was your experience?
I actually, surprisingly enough, it was uh, everything that I thought about the college. They like what I experienced was just one better. Because there I was slightly overwhelmed, because after a BBA, when you step into MBA, it is an entirely different world. And the thing is, there were a lot of things that I was looking forward to, like getting into clubs, doing like working more on my extracurriculars. Uh, while that happening, I was also sort of you know preparing to go to the campus, which like right now I'm just still hoping for that. But it was just, yeah, they just hit it right out of the park. I was very happy with a lot of things. I, like you mentioned, I got into the 180DC, which is a student-run consulting group, consulting organization. I also got into the placement committee, which is one of the best places to be. And yeah, all in all, it has been one of the best experiences, because you get to interact with some really, really smart people from all sorts of backgrounds. And our batch, not only our batch, but our college has a very diverse background, like ranging from north to south. And along with that, you get to talk to people from all sorts of work backgrounds, all sorts of domains. And it just feels unreal, because you expect, yeah, I'll be a little better. But the growth that I'm seeing in the past, let's say 4 or 5 months, I would have never even able to imagine it, because it is such a steep. graph. It is just going up, and I am just thankful. That's all I can say. It's a great experience, and if you know how to handle pressure, you should do fine.
So, Ishan, we are coming to the very end of the session. So,
Mhm.
some last questions. So, first of all, give, some kind of, any suggestions for this year's exam takers, what they should focus upon, what is something that they can avoid, and, how can they maintain that, that sanity while preparing for the exam.
Okay, so a couple of things. I'd start with quant first. So quant is something where you need to uh, figure out arithmetic completely. Arithmetic is something that should come at your fingertips. That's not something you need to give one thought to. Once the arithmetic question comes, you should be able to solve it like that. The one thing I'd rather suggest you to focus on and know the entire concepts and everything is modern math. Modern math is something that people usually tend to ignore because it's not as prevalent in other entrance exams. But trust me, NMAT takes it very seriously. So modern math is something you need to prepare yourself for. Number system usually does a question, one question or two questions. So even though there are a lot of concepts, this is how you decide where you want to put your complete attention to. So number system has a lot of concepts, but if there's only one or two questions coming, you should decide how much you want to like weigh that into your study routine. So that's your quants. Moving to logical reasoning, please focus on critical thinking, critical reasoning, because you will get a lot of critical reasoning questions, and trust me, they aren't easy. Like verbal, they are also like questions where you will get confused with the options because everything seems right. So you need to figure out, you need to solve a lot of questions from critical reasoning. That's your statement, assumption, conclusion, implicit and explicit assumption. Everything. You need to do every single thing that comes in critical reasoning because the rest of the stuff is pretty much out there in every entrance exam. Critical thinking is something which has a lot of weightage in logical reasoning. And when it comes to verbal, like I said, if you have the comprehension part pat down, you should be fine. Like I remember in my year there was no vocab. I'm not entirely sure if vocab is still there, but NMAT is pretty chill in that area. Vocab doesn't usually come, so that's a given. That's something that you can use as an advantage. So practice a lot of mocks, comprehension, sectional mocks. Keep giving sectional mocks. Don't just focus on arithmetic because that's quants because that's not just going to help you get that let's say 230 or 235 plus score. Uh, give enough weightage to all three, and yeah, sectionals, full length, and that's all. Just mocks. Make it into a video game. Keep giving so many mocks to the point where you know the exam and the questions like the back of your hand. That's the way to go.
So, Ishan, uh, there was some students who were asking that, should they start building their profile, for the personal interview while preparing for the NMAT? Or should it be like, after you are done with the exam and you have the score and, you can then start, building it and, preparing everything. So should this process start before giving the exam?
Definitely. Start it by today itself because the more you wait, the more you're losing out on time. Let's say if you give an exam and all, so we are almost at the end of October. I'm assuming if anyone has given their exam now, you have let's say a good 5 to 6 months, or even less than that maybe. How much are you going to fit into or squeeze into that 5 6 months window? So that's what you need to start thinking of. You can't wait for your best score to start focusing on other things. The free time you get, work on your soft skills. Soft skills are very important. Work on a few technical skills. There are many things that you can learn these days. There's Udemy, Coursera, whatnot. You can do everything. And please focus on life projects because they are not only pointers in your CV. They are talking points. You can talk about them. You can explain to them. And those are the things that can help you stand out. It's not the amount of experience you have as much as the quality of the experience you have. If you can talk about it well, if you have done some interesting stuff, and if that stands out, that's the way for you to go.
So, and the very last question of this session, Ishan, there's a student who is asked that how can someone with less to no extracurricular activities experience can excel in the PIs? How can I fill that gap of no extracurricular activities if I'm not good at anything?
Uh, Firstly, I just want to say you're not good at anything. You're good at something, I'm sure. The thing is, it's based on if you can talk about it. You don't always need to have accolades, achievements. If there's something, I like to cook as well. What certification am I gonna show for that? The thing is, even like the part in your CV where it says additional information isn't redundant. You need to talk about it. If there's, when you go to a PI, it's the best version that you're putting forth, and you need to talk about your strong point. If there's anything that you do, anything, and I'm sure everyone has some extracurriculars. It's not just achievement that you can show. If there's anything that you do, and if you can talk about it, that's your way to go. Can talk about your idols in the, let's say if you like the sport, you can talk about your idols. You can talk about how much you played that sport. And it's not just about that. You can balance it out with many other things. So the other way of this question is I am not that good in academics, but my extracurriculars are good. The thing is, it's how you show yourself or portray yourself in a PI. Just a piece of paper won't decide everything. Trust me, if you not put forth your best points, it's literally you are selling an image of yourself. And if you're able to do that well, you should be totally fine. Extracurriculars isn't the only thing you need to worry about. There's a lot. Just focus on everything altogether and you should be fine.
Okay. So, okay, fine. I'll take this question. So, Ishan, what is the use of giving 3 attempts as NM-IMS? And while you feel that KJ accepts only the one, they take only the first. See, Abhishek,
I'm sorry.
No problem. See, Abhishek, this is that something. Oh, Ishan, you want to take it, please? You can.
Oh, sure. Abhishek, you can unmute yourself. Just tell me which college are you focusing on right now?
I'm focusing on Narsumanji and KJ Somaya mainly to NMAT.
Okay, so if you give your first attempt and you get into KJ, would you still wait for NM?
Yes.
Awesome. Then why not give the 3 attempts?
But
it's literally, it's almost...
But if I gave the 3 attempts NMAT, Narsumanji campus would consider only my first attempt.
No, they always consider your best score. It's not, no, then what's the point of giving 3 attempts if they're... Sorry?
No, I think this time they has made a rule that they will be considering only the first attempt.
Okay, if that's the thing, then wouldn't giving 3 attempts be redundant? Why would they keep it 3 attempts if the only first score is going to be...
Abhishek, you get it, please, okay, so Shreya is also saying that...
But if they have changed the criteria, then that must be something new for this year.
Okay, so... Fine. So, just a second, I probably muted. Ishan, if you can unmute yourself. So that was the session for today, students. First of all, thank you to Ishan for, I can understand, you've just started your post-graduation journey, and, it would be really difficult, finding, time to interact with these young students. We keep on doing such kind of stuff because we feel that, the stage that you had been, if you can guide some more students into that, so that would be amazing. And thank you to all the students who joined, who attended this session. I hope you'll take back some really good things from Ishan back to yourself. And as he said, please focus on giving the mocks and try to stay away from that unnecessary stress that what is going to happen, or where are you going to land. Just keep up your motivation, focus on your own work, and you will be good to go. So thank you again to Ishan. It was lovely interacting with you. Such a great session, and I really hope that more users and more subscribers of ours would watch this on different social media platforms. Thank you again, Ishan, and thank you to all the students for attending. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.